Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out the beta version of an upcoming game called Bezier by developer 9 Games. And as you might be able to tell just from this title screen, this is a little bit of a Geometry Wars influenced top-down twin-stick shooter. You're probably wondering, why do I keep covering these games? They all seem sort of similar, right? Like, maybe just a little bit? Nah, this one's pretty different actually. It's got some cool stuff going on in it. And it's got some really good production values. It's got a few things that I'm a little bit confused about that I'm going to go over, but it is still in beta, so it's still being developed, and this version that I'm playing right now, you can actually try for absolutely nothing on Bezier, so it's kind of a win-win situation. So how about we take a quick look in the options menu here. I'm going to be using a Xbox 360 controller as a sort of par for the course, and the controls are really not really all that noteworthy. They're just, you know, move and shoot for the most part. I think there might be another button involved at some point, but I haven't quite gotten that far. So, you know, difficulty, we got a profile, keeps your information. Music and effects can be on or off. They don't have sliders, unfortunately, at this point. You'll notice in the bottom left corner of this title screen, though, we've actually got an upgrade 3 and 0. That's how many upgrade points I've placed and how many I have to place at the moment in brackets or in parentheses there. And I have actually used, there's like a Rogue Legacy style permanent upgrade system, which is actually freaking awesome. And then a percentage complete, which the game has a story mode. And we're going to start from the beginning, so you can hear the little monologue that happens. I actually haven't watched it all the way through, so I'll be quiet and let that happen. And then we'll get right into things, and I'll try and explain, but it'll be a little bit chaotic, so maybe it'll be difficult, but let's see. Here we go.
100 years ago today, I was born inside a computer.
Oh, I thought there was more to it than that. So yeah, apparently, born inside of a computer, and we're going to pick up some stuff, and it's going to tell us about stuff. So we want to prevent our blaster from overheating. That's always a factor, and we've got a lot of things happening with the UI right now, many of which can be a little bit overwhelming. And I kind of want to start out by saying we haven't gotten this bad yet, but there will obviously be some flashing lights, so seizure warning probably necessary with this game. This is one of the very few games that I've ever encountered that's actually given me some feeling of dizziness and like slight vertigo. And I think I know why it is. It has something to do with the amount of parallaxing that's going on here. We've got like, what, 4 or 5 layers worth of actual interface stuff that's going on at the same time. Okay, that's an important point there. So, as I was sort of going over that, I want to mention on the radar, which is the circle that's surrounding my ship, there's actually a little yellow cone. That's pointing us toward what is one of our objectives to clear out this wave. So we need to destroy this little sort of mini pseudo-boss. But what I was talking about before is there's the ship itself, which is on a layer. There's your radar, which is on a layer sort of superseding that as like a semi-transparency. And then we've got the layer where, like, the enemies and everything are, like, behind it, where there's the grid. Then there's a subgrid beneath that, and then we've got, like, 100 layers of space and stars. And then even beyond the radar, there's all the UI elements, like the, you know, points and the level, and the judgment counter in the corner, and our weapons upgrade stuff. Like, that's a lot of information all happening at the same time to try and parse and separate. And the eye isn't necessarily that good at differentiating this many layers, and it sort of all starts to jumble together a little bit for me. So I hope that there might be some way to address that, but I do like some of the effects that are happening here. It's just they might be overkill. And let me know if I'm wrong. If you feel differently, like, by all means, speak up in the comments. I'd love to hear if you have a similar opinion, or if you absolutely don't understand what I'm talking about. You know, both directions are welcomed. So you're probably wondering, what is this judgment counter in the top right corner? Well, if we don't kill all of the shields, which are the yellow cones rather, on the radar, we just instantly die. So we want to try and level up our ship to the best of our ability by killing lots of stuff as we go, and defeating asteroids and trying to get power-ups and unlocking stuff. But we also just have to make sure that we stay within the boundaries of that time constraint, otherwise we just straight up lose. I don't know how I feel about that. It's kind of cool at one point, and it's also kind of frustrating in another. I've only had it kill me once, but that was because I was dawdling and I didn't understand how the gameplay system worked yet. Now that I know that that's a thing, it's maybe a little bit more like a race. And also knowing that the shields are what actually drops the critical upgrades matters a lot, too. Like, that definitely makes you want to focus on killing those right away anyway. So it's kind of win-win in that respect. So I'm just kind of like taking in everything, trying to keep all of these various things floating at the same time, like all of the different things that I need to pay attention to. And now we're at about 40 seconds on the judgment counter, but I want to destroy all these asteroids before I run out of time, and I maybe get a helper out of that. I'm not really sure when or why those show up, but sometimes I guess they just kind of unlock. And then you'll also notice at the bottom there, we've got our ouch and oomph meters, which I find to be kind of a corny way to name them. I kind of have a hard time taking it seriously for some reason, but it's like a super over-the-top game, so I probably shouldn't try to take it too seriously. But calling it ouch, like, kind of undermines what could be a pretty cool atmosphere, I think. I mean, also this boss character that I'm fighting that I'm really not really supposed to be fighting, it's got just like a silly face on it. Kind of just looks like an emoji. Just kind of like fighting a big silly emoji, but you know, it's gone now. This is not the end, so we can go to the next zone, I guess? I don't know what that actually was. I exploded it, so it's gone now. And a thing that I talk about a lot in various games, especially bring this up when it has to do with like platforms and stuff, is differentiation of background and foreground. And in this case, I kind of went over some of that already, but I think it also matters a little bit of differentiating the particle effects from the enemies. Since a lot of the enemies in this game have sort of almost arbitrary designs to them, and I don't mean that in like a derisive way or anything, I just mean like they're kind of abstract looking enemies. Then we've also got all of these abstract particle effects that are happening. Also, we've got radar dots intermingling and various currency drops all happening at the same time. Like I said, it's very hard to differentiate all of those things, and eventually I don't know what's trying to hit me and what is good or what's bad, what I should be avoiding, where I need to be going. It's all very, very hard to parse, and I've gotten very good at parsing all the crap going on in Geometry Wars to the point where I can actually survive, like, post 1 million points world, which is Crazy Town. That's just, there's confetti shooting at you at every freaking direction, but I have a very good and sort of deep understanding of what the enemies look like in that game, so it's kind of easy for me to be able to just quickly, at a glance, differentiate, you know, what's my shots, what's sparks, where... You know, if I was playing Galaxies, what are the geomes? Like, that's also a little bit iffy, honestly. But just in Geometry Wars Retro Evolved, that's something that I think that game does very well, since a lot of those enemies are based on sort of primitive shapes. In this, we've got a whole variety of different shapes going on. I'm not really focusing on the shields that I should be right now, so there's a good chance that I'm just going to end up dead. But I think these are some points worth making, and again, I don't mean any kind of disrespect or anything to the developer. I think this game's got some very good things going on. I really do like the permanent upgrade system. I really love the soundtrack. It's fantastic. The soundtrack's so good. And I do really like some of the stylistic choices as well. I mean, the particle effects are quite pretty to look at. And by most accounts, I would say this game is just actually very nice looking, but it's just kind of too much in some ways. And I don't mean that, like, it couldn't necessarily work. It's just the way that things are all stacked up on top of each other feels like overkill to me. But I don't want to be too overly negative. I know this is a beta, and I know that there's still time to work some things out, and if people kind of come to the consensus that maybe they all feel the same way, maybe that could get changed. Or maybe it's just me being overly cynical or having a difficult time with something that maybe I'll get used to if I give it more time. You know, being fair, I have spent less than half an hour with this game so far, but I do see myself playing it a bunch more, because I would like to see how this progression system fares, where the game goes as far as leveling, what I might end up seeing later on in it. I've seen some of the comments on the Desera page have mentioned, like, maybe around level 8 or so, or I should say wave 8, I guess, because levels and waves are different in this. Things start to get a little samey. Well, that's actually several more areas than I've gotten to, so I'm kind of curious to know that. Was that a critical ouch that I just took there? Oh, see, I didn't even know that was an enemy. I don't know how I'm supposed to tell what's dangerous here. I like these pretty zoomer things, though. They're very nice looking. Oh my god, there's so many colors. So I really haven't been watching out for shields. There's still like 3 more here. So I'm going to try and hit one of these. I'm going to run out of time, though, and just get wiped. So, well, let's give it a shot anyway. We've got a Guardian. I have put points into weapon damage and speed boosting, and I was kind of hoping I'd be able to get a level to show you what that stat page looked like. But it's looking like that might not happen on this run, unfortunately. 2 shields remaining with 15 seconds. Alright, well, I've got 1. Let's just rush toward the last one, and I've got 8, 7, 6. I might actually be able to pull this off just barely. Yeah, I got it. And that was all of them. Yes. Made it. We made it out, guys. We made it out.
It was built in the last days of the physical, a sanctuary
Oh, there's so many things happening. I'm trying to read the subtitles while also shooting everything and trying to read my UI, watching out for these bizarre shrimp worms that are showing up everywhere. Collect things, look at the radar, find the shields, watch my score, watch my judgment counter, watch my level. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. I think there really does need to be some streamlining here. Or just like even to have an option to... Oh my god, I'm taking a lot of damage. Give me an option to move the radar to the corner of the screen or something. Why is my shot going in the opposite direction that I'm pointing? That's strange. Oh yeah, also, if I hold down, what is it, A? I guess I have like an auto fire or something? Is that what that is? Oh, well, I just kind of died there out of nowhere. I didn't actually expect that. Getting hit by an enemy will half your current oomph. Oh, good to know. My oomph went down a lot there. So there's campaign, endurance, and then all these levels. So there seems to be a lot to do in this, and I'm psyched about playing more. It's just, I gotta not get nauseous from all of the stuff going on. Anyway, I really didn't want this to end up being super negative. I didn't mean it to be super negative. I hope you can sort of separate the critique part from, you know, any kind of emotional attack or anything like that. But, you know, I think this stuff does need to be said, just for the fact that, well, what else would be the point if not to try and do a series with a critique-minded look at things? But, you know, go play it yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm very curious to hear your feedback on this one. I hope you guys are as psyched to play these sort of arcade-style dual-stick shooters as I am. It's just a genre that I'm very fond of. So I figure, hey, play what I like. That kind of energy tends to carry into the videos and hopefully gets people as hyped as I tend to be with these. And I think by all accounts, or by most accounts, this is a pretty successful start. And I think the infrastructure is here and it is laid. I just want to see where it goes from here. So I'll follow this as it goes on into production, well, on with production, I guess I should say. And as this goes towards the final release, I'll definitely be interested in maybe doing another video following up on it. So again, let me know what you think. Links are going to be in the description. This is a Bezier game, so if you have Bezier, you can go ahead and download this for free. Leave a comment, leave a like if you don't mind. It helps me out a lot and helps keep the series going and helps it reach new people, which is kind of the whole point. Find new indie games, find weird, interesting, artistic, original ones, spread the word, have a discussion about them, critique them, and all that. So if you enjoy what I'm doing here, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and make sure you come back again tomorrow, because in addition to the other stuff going on the channel, Indie Impressions is a daily series, so I look forward to bringing you another one then. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a fantastic night. So I'll talk to you all later.